This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 133. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is L.A.B. The reggae and soul five-piece from New Zealand are about to embark on their first Australian tour in years, after having released their 5th studio record last year, entitled 5. In today's episode, we're speaking with frontman Joel about the ever-evolving sound of the band, touring in New Zealand, and the music of Eric Clapton. Here we go. Our guest today is the frontman for one of the most popular bands in New Zealand right now. Combining reggae with genres like soul, folk and hip-hop, they've continued to see their fan base grow throughout the pandemic and are touring Australia next month. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, the frontman for L.A.B, Joel Shadbolt. Hello, how are we?
Good, man. Good, thanks. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Where are you joining us from?
So we're in Tauranga, which is east coast of the North Island in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand. So yeah, this is home.
Beautiful. It seems that there's a lot of good. We've spoken to a lot of different New Zealand artists lately in the last month or so. I feel like 2022 is kind of the year of the NZ artists because there's just so many quality bands coming out of there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we've been stuck here for 2 years writing lots of music. I think we're not the only band that have had a lot of time on their hands in regards to, not being able to tour, so being creative and whatnot. And I mean, still been able to play shows, but I would say, yeah, there's been a lot of creativity been going on in the last couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. The creativity that you're talking about, I feel like, yeah, especially yourselves for L.A.B, you haven't wasted it. I know that late last year you released the 5th studio record from the band, which is, I'm going to say it's 5 or it's V. It's the Roman numeral for 5.
Yeah, 5, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and it went straight to number 1. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's been a real interesting journey, being I suppose a successful band in a pandemic is something that we'll look back on in 20 years and go, far out, that was a ride. But I guess you play an album, you go on tour, you record an album and then you go on the road, and that whole kind of framework has been kind of altered because of COVID, and we wouldn't have been able to finish 5 albums in 5 years if it wasn't for COVID. So I kind of we have a lot, unlike a lot of people, we have a lot to thank when it comes to the pandemic, because it's really helped L.A.B. Even on a gigging level, we've been able to still get shows in and dodge the bullet in regards to lockdowns and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. There must be some kind of special angel watching over the band or something, because every time it's like, there must be a lockdown coming because L.A.B is about to go on tour, and it's people started kind of joking about it. But yeah, no, it's been crazy, man. The last 2 or 3 years, really, basically since we released our 3rd album, Within the Air, which took off, and that was pre COVID, and during COVID, the band blew up. It's just like, yeah.
It is, yeah. I imagine it's quite, as you've just kind of touched on, it's quite a unique experience because there's not many people that I feel can walk away and say that the pandemic has almost strengthened their resilience as a band.
Yeah, for sure. It's just been one of those things. I think I'd call it luck to a point, but I'd say we've been on the trajectory for a while, and I think we just used it to our advantage, and didn't use the pandemic as an excuse, and just put our heads down and kept working. Did what we could.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Well, what the results of how, as you just said, what you could do, the results are fantastic. The new album is great. It is a step forward, I would almost say, like a growth or evolution maybe in sound for the band. I know that it kind of still keeps its classic L.A.B. Sonic palette, but there's touches of country, folk, hip hop. I think what was it? Under the Sun, then goes into
the King's song with Real Ones.
Yeah, with Real Ones. Yeah, and it's just like it's an incredible record with, I guess, evolving that sound. When you guys sit down to make a new record, is that discussed that you guys want to kind of keep pushing different sonic palettes?
Yeah, I guess it's we kind of talk about it to a point, but we basically, since album 3, we've gone into the studio and just put a blank. It's basically a blank canvas, man. We used to go down and do a lot of pre-production and a lot of rehearsing at back here in the Bay of Plenty. We go down to Wellington, down to the capital, to record, and in the past it's been we've got songs in the bag that we kind of take down there. They're already roughly recorded at home. We did that for basically album 1 and album 2, but then it was like we want to do a third one and we didn't have much material. We turned up to the studio and just kind of started writing in the studio. So I guess what happened, which I find has been the band's, I guess, strength, is that we can write and record an idea in the studio and kind of capture the birth of the song, whereas a lot of the time, you are recording at home on it and writing at home, and then you go, okay, let's get some money together and go to a big studio and do it properly. That's usually how bands do it, because it costs too much money and creative energy, I suppose, to do it in the studio. But because the band's got a chemistry now, we kind of are lucky enough to be able to rely on that. And it's hit and miss like anything, but some of the best songs that we've ever written have come out like that, really in the moment, like, bros, I got an idea, and then it just flies from there, and within 24 hours you got a song on your hands. It's and you're in so I guess when it comes to the styles that we write, we don't sit down and be like, all right, we're gonna write a metal song or anything. It kind of just comes out like that. We're like, oh, let's try this vibe, and then we bring up references if we want to get certain sonic sounds. Like, reference, for example, there's a song on the third album called Heat, which is definitely reminiscent of like the 70s metal sound from like Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden. So we wanted to create something in that world, but then you get something like In the Air, which again, that was just a bass line that Brad had come up with, that the whole song kind of shaped around that, and the song didn't even have a chorus and it became a #1 hit. I mean, it still kind of boggles me to this day how, but again, people are falling in love with the nostalgic sound, I suppose, of what the song gives them. It's not necessarily the fact that it's a recipe song. It's more, it's a feeling,
Having like a look through the back catalogue of the band, there was something about like a lot of the music that the band creates that wasn't necessarily
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back-to-school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back-to-school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Yeah, I guess like nostalgic is probably a good word, and I don't know quite what it was. It wasn't like this song reminds me specifically of this band or track or whatever, but there is like a homely feeling to the songs that you guys are creating.
Right.
And as you just said, you've kind of built up this rapport now where you're able to go into the studio and it happens quite naturally. Do you think this has been why you guys are, maybe not exactly why you've been able to do 5 records in 5 years, but why the band is such like I feel like a beast in terms of being able to kind of continually keep putting out good music?
Yeah, I think so. Like, and also having experience in the band, like Brad and Stu Quarter have both been in the band Quarter, who were quite successful and still are, around in New Zealand. And Ada from Black Seed, sorry, he's going to kill me for that. Ada from Catch a Fire. The boys have all played in bands and toured and recorded. So myself and Miharu, who are the younger guys in the band, are lucky to have people like that around us that have that wealth of knowledge and experience in the industry. And Brad's just one of these guys that he just oozes creativity. He's got ideas for Africa. It's unbelievable being in a room with that guy when he's on his vibe and he's creating. He's just it's quite something quite special, and we all kind of surround him, and once he starts flying, right, he's on a certain level, you just jump on the waka and just go for it, man. And that's how the band kind of rolls. It's really in the moment, really fast, quite intense creative sessions, and that seems to be how it works. But I think it's a combination of chemistry, but also experience, of guys that have been around the block in regards to the industry, and know what they want. Brad's played in Quarter, and he's had other experiences and ideas where that didn't get used in Quarter. So L.A.B's been that place as a creative and a producer for him to let those ideas out, and he's flying, and he's lucky enough to found the right team, and it is what it is, So yeah, Brad's definitely a massive part in regards to the sheer amount of creativity that happens in the band and direction.
Yeah, of course. It is very exciting because we're getting to. I know that L.A.B had a number of Australian dates kind of lined up at the start of 2020, and obviously with what's happened in the world, that has been pushed back. But you guys were still able to play some shows in New Zealand, and I feel like New Zealand, was extremely lucky with. I think it was the only place for a certain period of time that was having like not just concerts as well, but these huge concerts and gigs and outdoor shows. Yourselves being included on some of those. I think you were playing to 50,000 at the end of a tour, or it's wild.
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, we were actually playing at Womadelaide in New Plymouth, and the following weekend we were meant to play at Homegrown, which is in Wellington, and the pandemic hit, and it was all over. And then we were locked down for maybe 3 months or something like that, or close to 3 months, and then we came out of that and did our first kind of sold out arena show in Auckland, and that was post pandemic and post summer, but in the year it's kind of taken off in that time. I remember during that first lockdown I was just doing interview after interview. I was on TV and all this crazy stuff, and it was all happening via Zoom. It was like, what is happening? And then we did this show, and it was the first live it was like the first live event in the world post pandemic, other than a Donald Trump rally that was going on that fucking all people were at. And I kind of made a joke about it over the microphone, like, I know where I'd rather be, kind of thing. And, but yeah, it was interesting times. And then fast forward to the following summer, which was the summer of 2021. We played our first big Mount Smart Stadium show, which was the first time we'd done an outdoor kind of thing on that level, and that was 17,000. And 3 weeks ago we did the same thing, but at Western Springs, which is another outdoor venue in Auckland. So the last 3 summers in particular, but the last 2 we've been able to kind of take the reins ourselves, and a lot of that is to do with the fact there's no international artists touring here, and then also a lot of that is to do with the band's trajectory and the fact that we've been on a roll just as much as 660 has, and other bands are like Fat Freddy's Drop. We've all had this opportunity to play these massive shows because there's no Adele or Ed Sheeran or no one's touring here, so there's a big gap in the industry.
I think it can be contributed to there aren't these big artists as well, but I think some credit is due to you and to the band in that there is something that's just resonating with the music that people seem to really be connecting with. Yeah, totally. I don't think I give ourselves enough credit, but it is just interesting, like looking at those stats, because we got the single of the year, 660 got the album of the year. I think it was last year, or most streamed single, most streamed album, and it was like the first time in maybe history, or like first time in a long time that a Kiwi artist had outstreamed an international, which was so cool, so yeah, it's definitely special. But I think you're right. People really, we get some beautiful messages from fans on how much our music means to them, and that kind of wholesome feeling, and it's become generational. I was just at the petrol station before, and this young kid was like, "Oh, L.A.B," and equally same thing happens when I go to the to my nan's retirement village. It's the talk of the town, and it's so special to know that our music reaches that far. Yeah, 100%. There is something really nice, I imagine, about being able to connect with, as you said, multi-generational, that it is just something that people can just enjoy, and it doesn't have to be a subsection or a genre kind of thing. It can just be good music is good music at the end of the day.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The hard work with all these gigs is now we're finally getting able to see L.A.B over in Australia sometime soon. I believe there's Womadelaide in March.
Yep.
Here in Adelaide, and then you've got East Coast Tour and Bluesfest as well in April, which is very exciting.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming, and everything that's happened in regards to the band's success in the last 2 years. Unfortunately, Australia has had to watch that from afar, all our fans from there. But when we first booked that tour in 2020, I think we're selling 400 or 500 cap kind of venues, and then we quickly had to change that to 2,000 to 3,000 cap venues because the band exploded. And so there's people that were they're still holding tickets from that tour, which thank you guys so much if you're listening, because we can't wait to get over there and play for you.
It is very exciting, and it has been having a look at the street press or wherever you kind of get your music news. It has been interesting to see as you mentioned, that when there's especially during the pandemic, venue changes sometimes have meant, capacity or whatever else, but it has been exciting to see all the new posters come out for the L.A.B shows, because I feel like it's going from a few hundred room capacities to an arena to, another kind of space, which is just bigger. So it's exciting. And it's very exciting to see these kind of, just, I guess, steps for you guys in the band.
Yeah. And it's really like, once you kind of get to a certain ceiling in New Zealand, you international is where it's at, and you take bands like Fat Freddy's Drop as an example, or even Crowded House with their, cracking it in America. It's like that's always the goal. That's always the benchmark of like being able to go to Amsterdam where Freddy's go and play, and they play in front of 10,000 people, and they're not Kiwis. It's like they've cracked an international market, and that's our next goal. Is to really see how far we can push this.
Yeah, of course. Is there outside of those Australia dates, is there, I guess, much on the horizon in terms of kind of taking it to Europe and to the US this year?
Yeah, not till 2023 is basically when we're aiming for. Just kind of lets this year ride out and focus on Australia more. We'll probably, I would assume, we'll be coming to Australia like on and off between now and even summer. We'll be playing some shows in Australia, I'm assuming. And then obviously we'll do an Aussie tour next year, but we'll be focusing on the States and Europe.
That's very exciting. Talking about the rest of this year, I know we're obviously only in February, but it does kind of beg the question. We have had 5 albums in the last 5 years. Can we expect to see a sixth in the sixth year?
One? I don't know. I think at this stage we'll definitely be going in the studio. I'll give you that much. We'll be recording. But I would, I don't see a full album coming out this year. I see us releasing music this year, but just not a full album.
That's very exciting, regardless of whatever kind of vessel it comes to the public in. I'm sure that any new music is always welcome.
Yeah, man.
Joel, usually we would ask our guests what they're currently listening to. Is there anything at the moment, record, full album, single, EP, whatever it may be, that's kind of taken your fancy?
Ooh, what have I been listening to? Actually, I've been going down a big Clapton rabbit hole. Eric Clapton. He just released the Lockdown series that he did with his band that he's been playing with for years. Nathan East on bass, Steve Gadd on drums, and his original piano player. And it's just the 4 of them in this beautiful, like, we have a place here that called Roundhead that oh my gosh, what's his name? Neil Finn owns, from Crowded House, and it's like a really beautiful setting in the studio. It's got that kind of vibe, and they're all just playing. They're all old boys, they're in their 70s now, or like late 60s, early 70s, and it sounds like you're listening to an old soul. Just that feeling that if you've been brought up listening to Clapton like I have, it's hearing him from MTV Unplugged in 1991 or 1990 right through to still doing it, obviously early stuff with Cream as well, but pretty inspiring, seeing an artist like that still got it at that age, and live in the studio, warts and all. So yeah, it's really cool. Lockdown series, it's on YouTube. That's a really good listen if you're a fan of Clapton. And Joey Landreth is probably another guy I've been getting right into. He's someone I've been listening to for a couple of years. He's a Canadian guitarist and singer, really in that sound of like Bonnie Raitt, Southern American kind of, Tedeschi Brothers. Sorry, not Tedeschi Brothers. Tedeschi Trucks Band. Derek Trucks and stuff like that. So real bluesy stuff. Yeah, that's kind of my buzz at the moment, man.
Nice. Those are very solid choices. Joel, thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate it. Congratulations on the album 5, and we do look forward to seeing you in Australia when you're here next month and for the following few months.
Cool, man. We'll see you at the show in Adelaide.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to L.A.B for their time. 5 is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to see them play on tour over the next few months. We also want to give a huge shout out to Stacey at Daydream Nation for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Never sleep hot again with Bowl and Branch's best-selling naturally cooling sheets. They feel super crisp and cool to the touch and are expertly designed for enhanced breathability so you don't overheat at night. Start getting your best night's sleep this summer with cooling sheets made with the highest quality materials. Try Bowl and Branch with a 30-night worry-free guarantee. Plus, get 15% off and free shipping on your first set of sheets at bowlandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.